The trial of Sean Diddy Combs has officially begun, and what's coming out of that courtroom is absolutely shocking. The information I'm about to share comes directly from people who attended the trial, along with reports published by reliable news outlets. If you're not fully caught up on this case, I recommend checking out my earlier videos for context, because this is only getting darker. On May 12th, in New York, the first official day of Diddy's trial took place. Prosecutors laid out a series of disturbing charges against the music mogul. Diddy is currently facing 5 serious criminal charges. Due to the nature of these allegations, I won't go into full detail here, but you can easily find them online. If convicted, he could be sentenced to life in prison. Court documents released earlier this month describe in graphic detail what Diddy allegedly did to his ex-girlfriend, Cassie. Honestly, reading through those reports made me feel physically sick. And again, because of how graphic it gets, I won't describe it here. But if you're curious, it's out there. Just maybe don't read it while eating. Then came the witness testimonies. One of the first people to take the stand was Daniel Phillips. He claimed that Diddy once hired him to have sex with Cassie, while Diddy watched. Yes, it's as disturbing as it sounds. After hearing Daniel's testimony, Diddy's 3 daughters quietly stood up and left the courtroom. Maybe they simply couldn't process what they had just heard about their father. Who could blame them? On the second day of the trial, Cassie herself took the stand. And if you've seen my earlier videos, you've heard me mention the so-called freak-offs Diddy allegedly held. Cassie went into detail about what happened during those events. Some of these parties lasted a full day. Others, up to 4 days straight. Yes, you heard that right, 96 hours. Non-stop. Day and night. And the worst part? These weren't rare occurrences. They happened almost every week. These are just a few of the disturbing revelations from the first 2 days of the trial. The full trial is expected to last at least 8 weeks. And throughout that time, I'll be keeping you updated with everything that comes out. Stay tuned, this story is far from over. On day 3 of the trial, Cassie returned to the stand to continue her testimony. She began by describing a disturbing incident that took place at a hotel. If you've been following this case online, you may have seen a viral security camera clip that captured Diddy physically assaulting Cassie in a hallway. But in court, for the first time, the jury and attendees were shown the full, uncut version of that video from beginning to end. This complete footage has since made its way online, and you can probably find it if you search. In the video, Cassie is seen fleeing the hotel barefoot, jumping into a taxi and texting Diddy, begging him to leave her alone. But he didn't stop. He kept calling her, kept texting her, harassing her nonstop. Eventually, he even showed up at her apartment, pounding on her door, yelling at her to come out and talk. According to Cassie, this wasn't even the first time he'd acted like this, so she wasn't exactly surprised. Then, prosecutors presented Cassie with photos of the men Diddy allegedly hired to have sex with her during his so-called freak-off parties. Some faces she recognized. Others were strangers. But she made it very clear, Diddy orchestrated everything. Sometimes he'd just sit and watch her with these men. Other times, he'd join in himself. And he didn't stop there, he recorded all of it. At one point, when he learned Cassie was seeing someone new, he threatened to leak those tapes. Yes, he used them to control her. Cassie went on to say that even on her own birthday, Diddy wouldn't let up. While she was celebrating with friends, he texted her, demanding she leave and come to one of his freak-off parties. Eventually, she gave in and left her own birthday celebration to go to him. Prosecutors then asked how she recovered after these events. Cassie testified that Diddy gave her drugs, specifically cocaine, then set her up with 4 treatments, hired chefs to cook for her, and even brought in massage therapists. According to her, this was all part of his manipulation, a twisted attempt to make her believe everything was normal. She said the abuse left her physically damaged. She suffered multiple infections and had to take so many antibiotics that her body eventually became resistant. And those are just the parts she was able to speak about. Many other details were reportedly too graphic to be shared in open court. That day, the jury was also shown still images taken from the videos Diddy had filmed during those private sessions. Usually, evidence like this would be shown on a shared screen. But because of the extremely graphic nature of the material, each juror was given a private monitor to view the images individually. Cassie had a binder full of printed screenshots. She flipped through them in sync with the jury, explaining what was happening in each frame. Some photos showed her body covered in baby oil. Others showed Diddy and the men he had hired performing horrifying acts on her. One female juror reportedly held her hand to her chest in shock. A male juror had to look away from some images he simply couldn't bring himself to watch. Another juror was seen taking notes, his hand visibly shaking with anger. Finally, prosecutors asked Cassie to describe the physical abuse she endured. Again, we can't go into the details here, it's far too graphic. But let's just say, if you can imagine a form of physical violence, chances are Diddy inflicted it on her. With that, Cassie officially concluded her testimony. And the third day of this harrowing trial came to a close. Day 4 of the trial against rap mogul Sean Diddy Combs focused on cross-examination, and it was intense. This was the first day Cassie faced cross-examination, where the defense had the opportunity to question her version of events. Diddy's attorney, Anna Estavio, led the questioning and attempted to paint a very different picture, one of a romantic, loving relationship between Diddy and Cassie. After a few carefully worded questions, Cassie admitted that, yes, at the beginning there was love between them. Then the questioning shifted to the infamous freak-off tapes. Anna asked whether Cassie agreed to participate in those parties because she was in love with Diddy. She even presented text messages between them where both seemed to be planning out some of the earlier freak-off sessions together. In one message, Cassie reportedly wrote that she was always ready to scream for Diddy. Anna tried to use this as evidence that Cassie was excited and enthusiastic about what went on. But Cassie stood firm. She emphasized that those messages didn't capture the full story, that they were just fragments taken out of context from a deeply complex and abusive relationship. She admitted that, in the beginning, she may have willingly participated because she was in love. But as time passed, she had messaged Diddy telling him that she felt manipulated and used, and that things no longer felt right. Anna then shifted strategy and tried to frame Cassie as someone who was using Diddy to boost her own fame. She brought up Cassie's 21st birthday party and asked about the guest list. Cassie replied that Diddy had invited many celebrities, including Britney Spears. And that's when things got even more layered. If you recall, in 2008, Britney Spears was placed under an involuntary conservatorship. One of the key figures involved in that decision? Lou Taylor, who just so happened to also be Diddy's business manager and accountant at the time. The defense then touched on Cassie's past relationship with rapper Kid Cudi. Cassie testified that when Diddy found out she was seeing Cudi, he physically assaulted her, kicking her in the back. In another chilling incident, she said Diddy physically pushed her so hard she fell, scarring her face in the process. Why? Because he found her asleep one day and got angry that she hadn't packed her things yet. Cassie also revealed that she witnessed Diddy assault another individual following one of those freak-off parties. The details were vague but involved a balcony table. And they were graphic enough that we won't describe them here. You can look them up yourself. And that's everything that happened during day 4 of the trial. We'll keep following this closely and bring you the next update as soon as more information becomes available. Day 5 of the Sean Diddy Combs trial actually took place last Saturday, but I'm only now able to bring you the full update. Cassie was seen leaving her apartment in New York heading to court. Photos from that morning show she is heavily pregnant, to the point that she could go into labor at any moment. Because of this, the prosecution requested that Cassie be allowed to complete her testimony that same day. They believed the defense was intentionally trying to delay the cross-examination until the following week, possibly hoping that Cassie would give birth and be unable to return. If that happened, it could have forced the court to declare a mistrial. So the judge ordered Diddy's legal team to finish their questioning by the end of the day, no exceptions. Once court was in session, Cassie immediately took the stand again. The defense brought up a man named Jonathan Odd. He was arrested in 2018 after trespassing at Donald Trump's golf club and refusing to leave. At the time of his arrest, he claimed that Diddy had paid him to have sex with Cassie while Diddy watched and pleasured himself. He also admitted to secretly filming some of the freak-off parties he had attended. When Diddy found out, he allegedly paid Odd $5 million in exchange for signing a non-disclosure agreement to keep the videos from leaking online. Diddy's lawyers used this situation to try and frame Diddy's actions in a positive light. They argued that the large payout showed Diddy cared about Cassie's well-being and privacy. Jonathan, However, claimed he only filmed the videos because during one of the freak-off sessions Cassie fainted. He said he wanted to protect himself legally in case anything went wrong, essentially documenting the situation for liability reasons. The defense then brought up Cassie's mental health treatment. They attempted to undermine her credibility by suggesting that she was mentally unstable and therefore not a reliable witness. They followed up with several questions trying to make it seem like Cassie had willingly ended her relationship with Diddy not because of abuse as she had alleged in her lawsuit. They also tried to corner her into admitting that she dated Diddy to advance her career. But Cassie refused to fall into their trap. She calmly deflected the insinuations. Then it was the prosecution's turn to redirect. Through their line of questioning, Cassie reaffirmed that the relationship did, in fact, begin out of genuine love. She said she only ever wanted to be intimate with Diddy because she loved him, but he manipulated her into having sex with other people. She acknowledged that she had already received a $20 million settlement in a prior lawsuit related to the freak-off incidents. But she made it clear. She would give up every penny of that money if it meant never having to go through those experiences with Diddy. She added that she tried hard to build a career of her own. But time and time again, Diddy would cancel her shows, telling her to skip work so she could attend his freak-off parties instead. At first, she went along with it because she loved him. But over time, things began to feel wrong. Still, she didn't feel like she could say no. She was afraid. Afraid that Diddy could destroy her career or even her life. Afraid that if she said no, he would stop loving her. And with that, Cassie's full testimony and day 5 of the trial came to a close. I'll be following this case closely and will keep you updated as more unfolds in the days ahead.